Hey guys, it's Cayley. I'm back with another What Sold from Last Week video. Every single week I come on and I share my sales report for all of the platforms that I'm selling on right now, which currently my buy it now platforms are eBay, Poshmark, and Depop. I do these videos to just keep track of how things are going in my business and also share with you guys what you might want to look for while you're out at thrift stores. I will pull some of those individual sales. We'll talk about how much they sold for, how long they took to sell, and why I picked them up in the first place. Before we dive into today's video, I wanted to take another moment to tell you about one of my favorite shipping supplies companies called GRO Pack. GRO Pack is a website where you can order shipping supplies. It's super clean and simple. You just go on, choose what kind of mailer you want. I almost always choose poly mailer. Pick your size. I almost always do 10 by 13 and then pick your color, your quantity, and purchase. Probably my favorite thing about GRO Pack is that you can buy in bulk because I use a lot of poly mailers. This time I ordered 10 by 13s. We've got my favorite, the beige, the haze blue, and I think this is called Sakura Pink. I order these in bulk because almost everything that I sell gets shipped out in one of these bags. And when you buy more, you save more per piece. They have some of the cheapest prices I've seen per piece on shipping supplies. So if you're somebody like me who really values a good deal, a link and a coupon code for your first purchase will be in the description box. Oh, and I always forget to mention this, but they have free shipping on all orders within the US. Now back into the sales. Okay, so the sales that we're looking at this week that were last week happened between the 14th through the 20th. I had a much higher sales week than the week before. I sold a total of 134 items between those three platforms. I sold 65 on eBay, 54 on Poshmark, and 15 on Depop. Depop is the platform that I have most recently added. So it's my newest additional platform that I am now being consistent on. I'm starting to see those sales pile up because of that. I sold gross sales $4,500 with an average sale price per item of around $31, much lower than what I'm aiming for, but still happy considering I'm having pretty decent sales surrounding the holidays. And as we all know, it's very up and down around Christmas. I had an ASP of $34 on eBay, 27 on Poshmark, and 31 on Depop. Now, let's dive into these individual sales, talk about what is selling well for me and what might also sell well for you on each store. Before we dive in to the individual ones, I have specifically pulled ones that I don't think a lot of people know about. I actually sold probably more Patagonia and LL Bean and wool base layers than I ever have this last week, but I didn't pull all of those to show you just because I think we all know like Patagonia outerwear does well. At this point, if you watch my videos, you should know that LL Bean stuff does pretty well in a lot of more substantial pieces. And so I didn't pull those, but a big bulk of my sales came from those outdoorsy brands. But let's dive into some things that I don't think that a lot of resellers know about. Okay, this first one was a really awesome sale. This is actually the second time I've sold this exact pair of shoes. The first time got returned for fit, so I'm hoping these ones also don't get returned for fit, but these are a pair of vintage men's Y2K Nike slides. If you don't know about men's Y2K slides in a lot of the sporty brands, even Adidas, Reebok, there are some specific pieces in vintage Y2K slides that sell for crazy amounts of money. This is one in particular that had several comps for the exact same item and colorway. So that's why I felt really confident picking these up. And I've sold Y2K slides like these in the past for really good money, but this is probably my highest sale for a pair of those slides. So I listed these for $135 or best offer. I slapped the best offer on there just because, again, it's a little bit more of a rare shoe and I wasn't sure what to expect. I wanted to leave a little bit of wiggle room for my buyers just to make sure that that sale happened quickly. And it surprisingly sold for my full asking price of $135. I originally paid $3.19 at a thrift store. Okay, next up, another pair of shoes. I came across two men's Doc Marten boots, real leather at a thrift store, and they didn't price them up. This is one of those pairs. The other one has already sold. This is called the Pascal Soft Pebbled Leather Boots, and you can see they had a little bit of wear on the leather, but Doc Marten buyers don't care about that. I listed these for $100 or best offer, And these also sold for my full asking price of $100, and I paid $5.99 at a thrift store. Next up, this is something I paid up for, but I anticipated a really quick sale. I paid $9.99 for this Dooney and Burke women's Y2K handbag. Dooney and Burke isn't a brand that I get excited about anymore. It used to be about 5 years ago. I would pick up anything Dooney. However, these days I feel like the market for Dooney, Coach, and a lot of those brands that used to perform really well has significantly gone down. But there are still bolos within those brands. And right now, what I can tell people are looking for in those brands are the Y2K mini handbags. I've sold a ton of them. When I actually looked up Dooney Y2K micro mini bag, I actually didn't see a great sell-through rate, but with my knowledge of Y2K items, experience selling the micro mini bags, and just knowing that this is more of a luxury brand, I went ahead and paired those factors together and decided to get it. I listed this for $50. It did have a few marks on the leather. You can actually tell from the picture here. And I included keywords like mini, micro, shoulder bag. I even put browns in there because I thought it was orange and brown, very browns colors. And I listed for $50. This sold very quickly for an offer to watcher of around $42. And this one only took about a month to sell. Next up, this is another category that regardless of brand, I have been selling like crazy, and I've talked about it in many of my videos, so hopefully you've been paying attention, but both men's and women's longer length dressier pea coats always perform well for me during this time of the year, and they have for several years. And I really like using this category because a lot of people shy away from coats, not only at regular thrift stores because they're expensive, but also at the bins because they weigh so much. But these are items that you can sell for pretty large amounts of money regardless of brand. This one is just by a brand called Spencer Douglas. It was nothing too special. This was something I would consider having factors that actually decrease the value, and I'm still able to get $40 for stuff like this. So pick this up at the bins, even though it was heavy, listed for $40, sold for my full asking price of $40. This one did take about 90 days to sell. Okay, another category that I have been looking into when you can factor stack in are vintage corduroy dresses, specifically ones that have a little bit more substantial features. In this case, this one was a multicolor micro floral print. It was a button down. It was a larger size, and it was long sleeve. So lots of factor stacking there. But in general, anytime I see a vintage corduroy dress, I almost always look it up. Factor stacked with this and listed this for $40. I paid $5. It sold for my full asking price of $40. And this one only took 10? No. This one took 11 days to sell. I used keywords like grunge, western, and cottagecore. Okay, I mentioned selling a lot of the outdoorsy brands. This was one brand that I have recently come into a lot of from multiple wholesalers, finding it on my own and doing inventory buyouts. And between all of those ways of sourcing, I, for some reason within the last month, have been given like so many Ibex pieces, which I'm super happy with because I love selling this brand. This brand is well known for their outdoorsy pieces, specifically their merino wool base layers, and they perform even better in the men's pieces. This is an Ibex men's size large merino wool zip pullover. I listed this one for $45. I paid $6. It sold for my full asking price of $45, and it actually sold the exact same day that I got it listed. Okay, here is a bolo brand for you. This one is commonly overlooked. This is the Vermont Flannel Company. If you look up this brand, it has a really high sell-through rate, and yet it is one that a lot of people pass on, mostly because they just, in my opinion, look like every other flannel company. And the label looks kind of vintage, so I don't think a lot of people recognize it as a brand that still sells. I listed this men's flannel for $35. It sold for my full asking price of $35, and it actually sold the same day that I listed it. I actually came across multiples of these in our sourcing recently, and I've sold both of them. So super quick flips. Okay, here is another merino wool base layer brand and an outdoorsy brand. It is Icebreaker. This is an Icebreaker merino men's zip pullover again. I paid $6. I listed for $30. It sold for my full asking price of $30, and this only took 2 days to sell. Lots of quick flips. Okay, next up, this is a brand that I knew about for a while as a bolo brand, but I had never found it, and it's called Jaded Gypsy. When I came across it, it had been so long since I heard about it that I actually didn't remember the brand at all. So I looked up and realized, oh yeah, this is a bolo I've been seeking after for years, and it just never comes in my area. So Jaded Gypsy is a really good bolo brand. Most of their stuff is worth picking up, and specifically their flannels have a really good sell-through rate. This one had a patch on the back as well. But if you didn't know that label, again, just looks like any other flannel that you could get. So you really want to memorize some of these brands. This one I listed for $45. I actually got an offer from a buyer for $35 in messages. So I went ahead and sold it for $35 just to move it. I paid $8 for this. And this one sold exactly 1 month after being listed. Okay, this is more of a bread and butter piece, and probably a lot of these next few are, but they're pieces that, again, commonly get overlooked that you can factor stack or style-based source. Some of them actually, if you look them up with their factors, do have high sell-through rates. So it's not just style-based stuff where it's harder to look up the sell-through rate, but even factor stacking where you can. Some of these pieces actually have a high demand. They're just overlooked because people don't look them up. They don't think they're worth looking up. This one is more of a style-based one. This is not a brand you want to memorize, just a Sofia Vergara jeans. These are actually a pair of pull-on velvet pants. We picked these up from the bins. Velvet is one of my top performing materials right now, and paired with a flare leg, which a lot of people are looking for multiple styles. I've been selling a lot of these velvet flare pants, regardless of brand. I got this from the bins, listed for $25. It sold for our full asking price of $25, and this only took 6 days to sell. Another one that is commonly overlooked are Y2K, either actual Y2K or Y2K style mall brand sweatpants, both women's and men's, although I think the men's definitely perform better. This is a pair of women's Hollister low-rise spell-out sweatpants. The spell-out's significantly going to increase value. I listed these for $30. They sold for my full asking price of $30, and these ones only took a few weeks to sell. Next up, this is completely style-based. This is not a brand that I pick up anymore. If you guys have been here for a while, do you guys remember when I used to pick up like tons of Knox Rose? Those were the days. Those were the days when we could all pick up Knox Rose and they would sell for $25. No longer does that work for me, but sometimes I come across style-based pieces in this brand. This is a Knox Rose longer length Aztec cardigan, very Western, somewhat kind of wintry. This could go in so many different directions. I listed this one for just $25. Again, picked it up from the bins, sold on an offer to watcher for close to $21, and this only took 7 days to sell. Next up, another item. You're actually going to see quite a few of these to reinforce this idea. I've been talking about it for a while now, but men's Henleys and men's thermal shirts during this time of the year, regardless of brand, typically flip for me between $20 and $30, again, regardless of brand. So you want to be looking for men's thermal, and then if you have a Henley, even better. So this is just by the brand Steve and Barry's, but again, thermal Henley. I listed this for $25. I use keywords like waffle, thermal, Henley. Even base layer can be good because a lot of people do layer these underneath. I listed for $25. It sold for $25 in just a month. Next up, this is a brand that has been surprisingly performing very well in the middle of winter, which is Rip Skirt Hawaii. You guys see these every What Sold video. I keep coming across them and I keep getting them in wholesale. This one I got in wholesale. I paid $6. It is a link 3 Rip Skirt Hawaii skirt. I listed this for $30. It sold for an offer to watcher for $25. Had this been closer to summer, I probably would have listed this item closer to $35. But again, because we're not quite in that season yet, I want to make sure to price competitively to make sure that these summery items move. Next up, another pair of sweatpants. This is Brandy Melville. I am experimenting with Brandy Melville right now because I do come across a lot of it when I do comps for it. However, the solds, even if it has a high sell-through rate, is typically too low for me to want to get. So I'm trying to just inch that price up and see with the right keywords how much people are willing to buy for Brandy Melville. And I'm currently sticking to the more like Y2K look. So this is like a pair of sweatpants, very Y2K look. These are also wide leg. I listed these for $25. They sold on an offer to watcher for $21, and these only took 9 days to sell. That's really good for Brandy Melville. All right, another style-based flip, not a brand you want to get, but these open knit or like meshy looking tops have been performing really well for me. And it's one that we stock up a lot on the bins. I listed this for $25. We use keywords like fishnet, fairy grunge, festival, and hippie, and it sold for a full asking price of $25. This one took about a month and a half to sell. All right, last one on eBay, and then we'll dive into some of the Poshmark sales and then finally end with Depop. I've been experimenting with picking up some kids pieces. We come across a lot of kids clothes at the bins. They're super lightweight. A lot of people don't get them. And so I'm trying to figure out what it is that we can frequently come across at our bins locations when we're already there and, pad up those sales, pad up our sourcing. And one of those areas I'm looking into are kids clothing. This is J. Crew, which I knew like crew cuts by J. Crew and stuff sometimes do well. Not a high sell-through rate, but this is a J. Crew little girls Fair Isle Nordic style sweater. With that being popular in adults and this being J. Crew, I looked this up and it actually had a decent sell-through rate for this type of sweater in girls. I listed this for $20. That's the thing with kids' clothes. There's not a lot of them that you can price up, but I'm okay with $20, 15 to 20, sometimes more than that depending on what it is, as long as it's something that I can grab and list super quickly. Usually when we're listing these, we just throw them on a table. This one I listed for $20 as a test. The test worked because it sold within just a couple of weeks for a full asking price of $20. Okay, moving on to some of the Poshmark sales. I had some high price sales and some bread and butter, so I'll go through both of those with you. You guys know I'm picking up tons of cashmere still. This is not a brand I would normally get, but 100% cashmere and things. Great sales. And I just want to show you how I'm marketing stuff like this to elevate it even more, because being cashmere is great, but there's a ton of charter club cashmere sweaters. So how can I elevate mine to make mine sell faster and potentially for even more money? This one is a turtleneck, so that's going to increase value. And then I included keywords like holiday and Christmas to really reinforce somebody envisioning what that's going to look like in an outfit or for a specific purpose that they might have. And this one sold very quickly for an offer of $22. Okay, next up, this is J. Jill. During this time of the year, I love finding J. Jill and corduroy together. They always are super quick flips for me. Corduroy in general, I'm looking for in lots of things, but I have noticed combining J. Jill and corduroy together usually leads for a quick flip in my store. Let me know in your store down below. Are there any like combinations that you've noticed specifically in brands that don't normally do well, but in certain fabrics they do? That's like something I love to do and figure out in my own store. So J. Jill and corduroy, typically a super quick flip. This one is a corduroy jacket. And I listed this, I think originally for $35. Somebody sent me an offer for $25. And since it was a style-based factor stacking piece anyways, I went ahead and accepted $25 to get the item moving. Okay, here is another men's Henley. This is actually not a thermal one, but it's similar base layer. It's a men's Henley. And I come across a lot of J. Crew at the bins. We're experimenting with some of the men's J. Crew pieces. They typically perform well for me, although the sell-through rate doesn't show that. So we're experimenting with some things. I'll have to let you know how it goes, but so far so good. This is a men's size extra large Henley. I listed for $30 on Poshmark. I have Poshmark sending out automatic offers, and this sold for my expected price, which was $25. Here's another Henley. This one is a thermal Henley by the brand Gap. This one sold for $22. This is a brand I pick up every single time I find it. It is Natural Life. Even their t-shirts for me sell for $25 and up. If I find more substantial pieces like jumpsuits or dresses, I price a little bit higher. This one was called the Dakota Tie Overall. I listed this closer to $40 and accepted an offer of $35 on this. You guys know one of my favorite bread and butter are men's Nike sweatpants. This is just another pair of the men's Club Fleece sweatpants that sold again for $25. It's like my millionth time selling these and the Henleys. But I love stuff like this because nobody's looking for this stuff, and it's something that I can find all of the time. I mean, imagine if I find 5 of these in one day, or let's just say 4 for easy math. That's an extra $100 that I'm going to have for knowing about Nike men's Club Fleece sweatpants that I wouldn't have had before. And if you can replicate this for multiple different areas and slowly learn the bolos and the everyday things that you're coming across, that's where you can not only get $100 extra per day, but 200 up to thousands. So I love finding little niche stuff like this and excited to share that with you guys. Okay. This next one is another one I had to really dig deep to find clean data for, and I don't pick up Athleta hardly ever anymore, but I noticed that these were fleece lined and they were plus size, and they were called the Altitude Stash Tight, and whenever I see the actual style name on Athleta, usually an indicator that it's a newer style. So I did a comp on these. They didn't have 100% sell-through rate, but they were pretty good. The thing that kind of tipped me over the edge to buying this, despite not having 100% sell-through rate, is I recently did a deep dive. I do a deep dive every single month for Resellers Edge University. For the pro members, we do a trend report. And what I do is I look at multiple different places and then I compare that to the solds on eBay in order to figure out what people are looking for essentially ahead of time. And usually I verify that with a sell-through rate. So one of the places that I love looking before I get to the sell-through rate is Google Trends. It tells me what people are searching for, and it lets me know when there's a spike in something. And I saw a huge spike in fleece line leggings. And so because I had just researched that and then I went thrifting, I came across these leggings, and even though they didn't have 100% sell-through rate, that kind of tipped me over the edge to try it. I paid $5 for these. I listed for $35 each. I found 2 and they both sold super quickly. And so like within a week, days. So that's why it pays to not only follow sell-through rate, but also be looking at other things ahead of it. So what are buyers searching for, but then also verifying that with sell-through rate. These ones sold for $29, and then I also sold these for $25. Again, really, really quick flips. All right, next up, a style-based piece. This is just another one of those lacy trim Y2K tank tops. This sold super quickly for $25. This little charm here, I think definitely helped it to sell faster. Little details like that are very unique, and Y2K buyers are looking for unique. This is a men's jeans brand that I still like finding. It is Adriano Goldschmied. These are called the Everett jeans, which I've had lots of luck selling. I listed these for $40 and they did sell for my full asking price. Not a lot of men's jeans brands that I still like finding. This is definitely one of them. All right, I mentioned those like sheer tops that have been selling well for me. This is another example. This one had some bell sleeves and some sparkles, so I leaned it more into holiday and New Year's Eve, and this sold very quickly for an offer of $23. Next up, another men's J. Crew piece. Again, experimenting with this. This was a men's sweater, and it sold for an offer of $30. I use Guernsey stitch on this one because of the pattern. This is a brand that I do like finding. It's more bread and butter pricing, but they have a good sell-through rate. It is Young LA, especially in men's. It's like an athleisure athletic wear brand, and they typically sell for about $25 for me. This is a men's spell out hoodie, and it sold for $25. This is another cashmere piece. This is a brand Everlane. Everlane and Cashmere, Madewell and Cashmere, Garnet Hill and Cashmere, all brands that I don't really seek after anymore. But when I find them in Cashmere, I know it's going to be good because that well-known brand paired with a great fabric allows me to price a little bit higher. So this is a color block cashmere sweater that I listed for close to $40, and it sold very quickly on an offer for $34. Here's another corduroy item. Men's corduroy pants during this time of the year are really quick flips for me. They're good bread and butter pieces that I like plugging into my store. This is by the brand Brooks Brothers, which is a little bit more of an elevated brand as well. These sold very quickly on an offer for $25, which is about what I expect. Okay, next up is a pair of pajama pants. This is Nick and Nora. This is a Bolo brand in pajamas. However, it depends on what it is. These are just a pair of pants. Usually you would want to find the matching set. However, these were new with tags, which is why I picked them up, even though I didn't have the match. This ended up selling on an offer for $29. All right, here's another little kids piece. This is a baby 18-month. It's just by Carter's. Not a great brand to look for in kids, but I tested this out just because it is like an organic, sustainable material, which I know people are looking for right now. It's also a thick sweater in a nice neutral color. I listed this for around $20 and accepted an offer of $15. All right, next up is one of the most popular brands of shoes right now is Crocs and also Sperry. Sperry is really trendy right now. So when I saw these Crocs in a Sperry looking style, I knew I had to look them up. These are actually called just boat shoes is what Crocs calls them. And they had a really great sell-through rate. I listed these for around $40 and accepted an offer of $30. Another brand with a surprisingly high sell-through rate that often gets passed on is Halara. They don't typically sell for a ton. You're usually looking at like 15 to 20 bucks pre-owned, but they do have a pretty high sell-through rate in most things. This is a pair of Halara women's plus size wide leg jeans. So for all of those factor stacking reasons, we looked this up and it had a really great sell-through rate, plus had a much higher ASP. And I ended up selling these for $35 pre-owned Halara. Here is a great brand to look for called Fairty. This is paired with corduroy and it is a long sleeve dress. It was called the Malone long sleeve corduroy shirt dress. I accepted an offer on this of $51. This one also sold super quickly, especially for Fairty, which is typically not a super high sell-through rate brand, depending on what you have. All right, next up, another style base. This is a vintage Hanes 1993 dated Led Zeppelin shirt. This one had like cracking in graphics, DIY neckline. I couldn't find a whole lot of information on this one, and the sell-through rate on the vintage Led Zeppelin shirts, it was actually surprisingly low when I looked this up, so I priced accordingly, meaning because the demand wasn't wholly there, I didn't think somebody was going to snatch this up immediately, so I wanted to incentivize them with a lower price. I think I listed this for around $75 and accepted an offer of $60. I actually found this, I believe, at a regular Goodwill. Okay, next up, this is Johnny Was. I think we all know this brand. I love finding Johnny Was. This one is the Lavana tunic top. This one we were lucky enough to get new with tags. Gorgeous piece, kind of the epitome of what a lot of people think of when they think of Johnny Was. I accepted an offer on this tunic top of $80. Next up, this one was more style based as well. Band sweatshirts, band hoodies in the past have performed well for me, and it's been a while since I've picked up modern ones, just because I'm so focused on the vintage pieces right now that I kind of forgot about that category, if that makes sense. And so when we came across this tulle hoodie, with the spell it, I thought we should try it, and I priced how I used to price on things like this, and it sold very quickly on an offer for $34. So I think in the future I might start testing out graphic modern t-shirts again for band stuff, as well as hoodies and sweatshirts. This is an excellent brand to look for in just about anything. Quince has a very high sell-through rate, especially if you pair it with on-trend items such as a sweater. This one I use keywords academia, preppy, and old money. I listed this for $35. My nifty automation sends out automatic offers 1 to 6 minutes after somebody's liked an item is what I have it set for. And this sold on one of those automatic offers for $29. Last one on Poshmark, and then I'll finish up with the Depop sales. This is a very recent sale. This is Sundance. It is a 100% cashmere sweater dress. Excellent piece. It unfortunately did have a small hole. We just went ahead and included that in our description and our pricing. I listed this, I think, for around $50 and accepted an offer of $40. Okay, moving on to the Depop sales. I am thrilled to be having consistent Depop sales. I actually we just did all of our shipping for Monday, so all the sales over the weekend, and I think we had like 8 sales to ship out. So we're selling a few a day, which is really cool to see. And they're not all style based either. Some are very brand based, such as this men's LL Bean sweater. This is a thick ribbed men's larger size sweater. So this probably would have sold without keywords, but I did include the keyword fisherman, which is a trending aesthetic right now. And I listed this at $55. It very quickly sold in just 2 days for an offer of $42, which I accepted from a buyer. All right, this is, you guys actually probably have come across this brand so many times. Not a brand you want to memorize, Lovetree. This is a completely style-based piece. It is a little crop top. We use keywords like coquette, cottagecore, things like that in our description. I listed this for $30 on Depop, and it sold for our full asking price of $30. This one actually had 65 likes. It sold in 12 days. That's actually kind of crazy. Sometimes I look at these style-based pieces that we get and I'm like I get why it's sold. It's a style-based piece, but then I'm like, why does it have so much attention? Especially with this like being so cropped. I don't know. I'm learning stuff every day just from experimenting in my own store. So $30 full price, 12 days, crazy sale. Okay, next up, this is a men's cardigan, another category I've mentioned you can factor stack in pretty frequently. This is a larger size. It also had elbow patches. I use keywords such as old money and shawl. I listed this originally for, I think, $40. I have Nifty set up to drop and recreate and do things for specific platforms within so many days. And so this one, because it hadn't sold right away, it automatically recreated and dropped the price for me. So it was then listed at $31.50. I received an offer for $25 and I went ahead and accepted, with this being a style-based piece. This one sold within 22 days of being listed. And more of a brand-based sale, this is Free People. Free People sells really well for me on Depop, and it's always on their top trending brands. So it's definitely worth listing your name brand stuff there too, because people are looking for that as well. This is a Free People women's sweater. It was thick and ribbed. I listed it for $45. I was hoping to get more, and I probably could have gotten more, but when I received an offer for $30, I went ahead and accepted. We are about to close out on the winter season, and I do not want to be holding on to these thick, chunky items in my inventory, so I'm accepting offers to get things to move. Okay, this one was a super quick flip. This sold in 6 days after being listed. I've been selling so many things like this. I used to avoid stuff like this where they're like a one size fits all skirt or dress, and they're like the hippie boho boutique ones. But now they're selling really well for me for really high amounts of money. This one is an underbust dress. Keywords I used with this were fairy grunge, renaissance, asymmetric. This could have gone so many different directions. I listed this for $45. It sold on one of those automatic offers that Nifty sends out for me for $38.25. All right, next up we have another men's Henley. This is Hollister, just a modern one. This one ended up selling for my full asking price of $25, and it took a month to sell. Next up, another category I've already mentioned in this video, the longer length dressy coats. This is not a brand that I know about or honestly even care to look up, but it is a really nice leaning into like old money, classic, heritage, had velvet trim, had all of the good things going for it, and was a really unique coat. I listed this one for $65 and accepted an offer of $48. This sold within 23 days of being listed. By the way, I do charge calculated shipping to all of my buyers, so shipping is covered as well. Here is another style-based piece. This is just the brand INC. This is a Y2K style top with some unique details. I use keywords like twee, fairy, coquette, and whimsy goth on this one. Listed this for $29 and it sold in just 9 days for an offer of $23. And brown is a trending color too. And here's another brown item that sold. This is just a no boundaries, modern, found it at the bins, new tags, modern, no boundaries dress, but we're able to elevate that by understanding what buyers looking for this kind of specific piece. Listed this for $27, sold on an offer for $22. This sold within just 10 days of being listed. Here is another men's thermal shirt. This one is by Levi's. This one actually had quite a bit of attention. This one sold within 13 days of being listed for an offer of $23. And lastly is another dressy longer length coat. This one is a men's made by the brand Wilson's, and it was a cashmere coat. I listed this one for probably $125, had the automatic price drop, and then received an offer for $80, which I went ahead and accepted. Again, I could have held out for more money, but I do not want to keep this bulky inventory for too long. And if I can get $80 now, that's much better than getting $125 a year from now. All right, guys, so that's it for what sold last week. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. Don't forget, if you want to stock up on some GR pack mailers, I do have a link down below and a discount code where you can get a discount off of your very first purchase with them. So all that information will be down below. If you're not already, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell if you want to be notified when I make these what sold videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.